What's up, guys? Today on Bam Ranch, let's talk about the essential gear to keep in your vehicle to keep you prepared. Last week we went over the go bag. Now let's do the expansion of that, which is the vehicle kit. We're going to go through all that stuff today, and almost all of it is going to fit right inside one of these 8-gallon ActionPacker tubs. So saying you don't have room for it, it's no longer an excuse. Let's turn this camera around and get started.
Okay, so I know we've got terrible lighting, but y'all are here for the stuff that's sitting on the tailgate. Here's the kind of the basic overview of it. And you'll see it's not just a ton of stuff, and there's a reason for that. Man, where do y'all want to start with this? I'll tell you what, we went over the go bag, and most of our survival equipment and things like that, they're inside the go bag. We don't need a whole lot more than that. If we know we're going in harm's way, that's a different kit. This is just the kit that stays in the vehicle. All right, so let's start with just breaking this thing open. I love this size, man. This is an excellent size. I'll tell you what, let's talk about recovery gear. Let's go with that first. All right, first of all, set of jumper cables. See these cables? These are a heavy duty set of cables. These are like 1 gauge, either 1 or 2 gauge wire, and they're 20 foot long. Spend the right amount of money on your jumper cables. Get the longest, heaviest ones you can possibly afford. That will never let you down in any situation. Tire plugs. This is a kit that I bought several years ago, and I just keep adding to it and using it and adding to it again. Just something to get me back on the road. Pair of halfway worn out work gloves, always handy. And some sort of recovery strap. The one I have in here isn't the best. Whenever we moved, my good one didn't come with us for some reason. And I was just going through this today, as I was moving everything to this new truck or new to me truck, and realized I don't have my other one, so I need to dig that up. But having some sort of a strap to be able to recover yourself is absolutely necessary. What goes with straps? A couple of shackles. This is going to depend a lot on the vehicle. The shackles that I need for my truck won't even fit on my wife's car, so she has a smaller set of shackles in hers. Just a high visibility vest. The shovel. People want to buy little bitty shovels. I think you need to buy the biggest shovel that you can comfortably carry in your vehicle. One of these will fit in the trunk of a car. If not, you can go with one of those folded shovel things. That's what's in my wife's car. This right here is the absolute best piece of recovery gear that the human beings have ever invented. Get a real shovel. And if possible, carry a full-size shovel. If I think I'm going to use a shovel, I'm going to carry a full-size shovel, not this little D-handle shovel. But this fits behind the seat real well. It goes pretty well unnoticed. One thing everybody wants to include in these is a winch. And while I agree with that, are you going to hang 150 pounds of winch on the front of your wife's, Honda Civic or your grocery getter? This is my everyday commuter car. I'm not hanging a giant winch on top of that thing, on the front of it. Freaking thing would fall apart. So realize that, there comes a time where we just have to quit including stuff. Okay, with that said, what would I recommend the first thing somebody buy for recovery? Well, I'm going to get some arguments about this. but one of these. Just a good old come along. Are they rated heavy enough to be able to move this, 3/4 ton truck? No. This is a 1 or 2 ton, so a 2-ton puller, 4,000 pounds. But make no mistake, I have used this very come along to move way more than 2 tons. I have had a 4-wheel drive pickup, all 4 tires locked up, skidding it across the ground, and had tons of strength left in this actual puller right here. These things will pull an incredible amount of weight, and you can pick them up at Tractor Supply and whatnot. You could get like a 6 or 8 ton for under $100. But make no mistake, this will get you out of a snowdrift, especially if you're driving something like the car that's parked over there that I showed you a minute ago. Pair that with some shackles, and you can really, these will get you out. Of course, they're, if you're hardcore off-road, and you're going to need something better, but, these work pretty good. Now, I have several of these. What I normally do is I take the hook out of this side, the stationary hook, and I add in about 2 feet of chain, and then add a hook onto that chain, a grab hook. It just makes it nicer to be able to wrap it around stuff. But like I said, this sits behind the seat really nice. Doesn't take up hardly any space. Doesn't weigh anything. And like I said, in my little Matrix, I'm not putting a 400 pounds worth of winches and bumpers on the front of that thing. I do have a knife in there. I think that's a Becker or something. It doesn't matter. Just pick a knife. I don't know if everybody needs this, but this is a power inverter, like 750 watts. I wouldn't trust this thing to 750 watts. But if you need to run like some lights or something like that, I don't know. I use this thing quite a bit for light duty stuff, and it's always come in handy. Should have grabbed that out of there with the recovery stuff, but it's just extra valve cores and things like that. I like to keep a spud crescent wrench. Having this style of crescent wrench, what is that, a 14-inch or so, something like that. If you've got to do something with the ball on your trailer hitch or something, and being able to get in there and line stuff up, this right here is just really handy. It's got the thumb detector on there, so you can really find out where your thumbs are whenever it's good and cold outside. The colder it is, the better it works. Keep a couple of these little tarp straps. They always come in handy for something. And a good old 4-way. I've actually considered taking this out and just putting a breaker bar in here, but this is faster to use because you can spin them. Next, we've got a basic toolkit. This is going to be somewhat dependent on what you drive. So this is going to be really dependent on what you drive. Now, for this truck, let me go over what I keep in here, kind of give you some guidelines of how to choose for your vehicle. I keep sockets and wrenches, 10 millimeter, 13, 15, 18, and 21, all in 3/8 drive, shallow and deep sockets and combination wrenches. That's it. 13 or 10, 13, 15, 18, 21. I could probably get rid of the 18. That's not really used for anything other than suspension parts, but it doesn't take up a whole lot of extra, so I put it in there. What my thing is, I want to get whatever size your wheel nuts are, your lug nuts, which is 21 millimeter on this. Most half-ton trucks and down, like little cars, it's normally a 19 millimeter. So I have something for my lug nuts, and then 10, 13, 15 millimeter. If you drive a Toyota, that's probably a 10, a 12, and a 14. So you kind of got to go through what is the most common sizes for your vehicle. I keep a set of screwdrivers in here. One number 2 Phillips and just a big beater flathead screwdriver because we know that those don't turn screws, they chisel stuff in their pry bars. I also have a multi-bit screwdriver with a little bit holder and a set of bits in here, and a pry bar. It's just a short lineup bar. I'm not going to drag all this stuff out right now, but that's what's in here. A cheater bar. I do have it. You need to keep a cheater bar. I'm just going to use the handle to my jack, but get a short piece of pipe that'll fit in whatever tool bag that you prefer. It doesn't matter. You just need something to get a little bit of extra leverage. The lug nuts on this truck are, I think, 140 foot-pounds. So, you need a little bit more than just a ratchet. Pliers. I have a pair of needle nose, a pair of side cutters, a pair of channel locks. I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I've got as far as pliers. I do keep a hammer in here and a test light, just so I can figure out, why my taillight's not working or something. But anyway, this is a pretty simple kit. Where's it at? I do have a headlamp and a work light in here also. Toolkit stays pretty simple because what I just named for you will fix like 90% of anything and almost everything that you're going to fix on the side of the road anyway. It'll replace alternators and starters and belts and all of that stuff, and take apart your dash and fuses. Oh yeah, I keep some extra fuses in here. So you don't need near as many tools as what most people think. If you want to just go buy one of those packs from, Home Depot or whatever, $50, $60 socket set, that'd probably work just fine. Throw in some pliers and screwdrivers and you're golden. There's my work light from Harbor Freight. I charge it up, every now and then whenever I think about it. And actually this stays in the center console, not necessarily in that, although it very well could. It's magnetic because magnetic is awesome. You can stick it up under a fender well, whatever you need to do while you're working. Now, I keep a wool blanket or a sleeping bag. I don't have a bunch of wool blankets enough to go around through all the vehicles. But a wool blanket or a sleeping bag, whichever winds up in the vehicle, I don't care. It's just some way to keep warm if I need to. I prefer the wool blankets. This is one of the Italian surplus ones, and it's a queen size blanket. You can buy those little small ones, they say USGI on them from Rothko and stuff, but they're really small. It's nice to have something big like this. I've used this a lot. I've used it a whole bunch for changing a flat tire. There's just 1,000 different things to use this for. When we go camping, we use these as sleeping pads. Man, you can't tear these things up. These old 100% wool blankets, they're almost indestructible. If you can find a way to tear them up, you're probably a whole lot more hard-headed than me. I keep a pair of rubber boots. In this truck, I've got these. I think these are made by Service. They're okay. I mean, they're better. They're not bad. But I keep these in there. They're steel toe. I hate steel toe rubber boots. They make your feet either scalding hot or freezing cold. I also have a pair of muck boots that I keep in the vehicle as well, and a pair of lacrosse, and keep an extra pair of boots. Make your own mind up whether you want 511, tactical boots or something like that. Or if, just a pair of rubber boots. This is what I keep, and it works just fine. I don't have any complaints, and I've done it for, 20 years, and that's all I need. So that's what I keep. Oh, I almost forgot. I like to keep a fire extinguisher, at least in the truck. My wife does not keep one in her car, and I don't blame her. But whenever I'm using this truck gets used for things that like working, so the chances of a fire are a little bit higher than they are in her car. But I do keep a fire extinguisher. I recommend, if you're able to, that you do also. I've got a little bracket behind the seat that this mounts to, so it's not just bouncing around and exploding. Until you've had a fire extinguisher go off inside of a vehicle and all that powdery dust everywhere, you don't know what the meaning of suck is. So yeah, definitely mount one of these if you can. Oh, I also forgot. I also keep an axe behind the seat. How often does this get used? Almost never. I don't live in an area that has trees, but the very rare chance that this comes in handy, it comes in very, very handy. This is one from Council Tool. It's just the boys' axe. That right there, I made that out of one of those 5-gallon water jugs, like the water cooler jugs. I just heated it up with a hairdryer, bent it. I had some Chicago screws, and I put some Gorilla Tape over the end of it. Doesn't really need it, but it seemed like a good idea, so that's what I did. But yeah, that lives behind the seat also. So what do I keep in the other vehicles? I'll be honest with you, it's pretty much the same thing. I've got a few things that I keep up here. Little screwdrivers are nice to have. This is just a giant, like 4-foot diameter rubber band. Man, this focus is terrible. Can we fix that? Like a 4-foot diameter rubber band. Some extra, fingerless gloves, toothpicks, another knife. Yeah, I've got several knives and vice grips, and oh yeah, that's something that I do keep in the tool bag is some vice grips. But anyway, what do I keep in the other vehicle? It's pretty much the same thing. It doesn't really change, if I'm being honest. It's a kit that works well. I don't really need a whole lot else. This stuff will take care of almost all. I mean, you're never going to fix every problem, but it'll take care of almost all of the problems. And my wife's car, pretty much the same thing. A go bag and that basic kit. My daughter, I try my hardest, man. I really do. It's a little bit more difficult for her to, fit all this stuff in hers, but I do make sure that she keeps basically the same stuff. My little Toyota Matrix, basically the same stuff. And you'd be hard pressed, I think, to, put something together that's, you can certainly build bigger kits, but trying to find something that's more useful. Like I said, we tend to just pile stuff on without really, do we really need it? And there's things that I'm going to need in this truck that my daughter's never going to need. Like, she's going to call somebody, with the tool kit. She's not going to be replacing an alternator on the side of the road. She's going to call me or something else. And even if she has the stuff in there to do it, she's not going to. And same with my wife. So kind of tailor this to your needs. Whether you can do all those repairs or not, I recommend that you have it, especially in the part of the country that I live in. It's pretty common for somebody to stop and help. So it'd be nice if you had the tools for them to be able to help you. That's one thing to consider. All right, guys. Well, let me know what y'all think. And until next time, y'all be safe.